All right, I want to welcome everyone to the power of our story. We are a place of safety for our protectors to process the journey with others that get it. We are building a tribe in the gap where we are losing our protectors to hopelessness and suicide. So we do this by storytelling. As our stories, they connect us. We share resources, we share education. There's so many free resources out there and so many vetted resources. So we talk about that on this group. There's great camaraderie. There's a lot of people that, are friends offline also after meeting on the group. So if anybody is watching this, you can reach out to us anytime on our website, thepowerofourstory.com. You can find us on LinkedIn. And you can meet our amazing community that cares about you and they understand. This is a community of protectors. So please don't spend years suffering in silence. Tonight, we will have some of our protectors who have been part of building this community share a bit of their story, where they were at when they came on, and what being in a protector community did for them. Before I introduce the first storyteller, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the narratives and the common patterns of thinking along with common culture that may have been important in the time of service, but can be a devastating perspective after separation. Probably the biggest one I'm sure you're familiar with is suffering in silence. How many people would we have with us today if they did not suffer in silence? How about the feeling of betrayal when being honest with mental health struggles with your agency? How many times have I heard that people have not been open for fear of consequences from their agency? How about the lack of a debrief after critical or traumatic incidents? When people they go home and they haven't been able to talk through it. Think of the impact that has. How about vulnerability? That vulnerability can be thought of as weakness, or that you look for the vulnerability on the enemy's side to exploit it, or to protect yourself from vulnerability because it can mean death. After retiring, commonly, there's no communication after about 2 weeks. Does that sound familiar? How about the deep grief that can look like anger after losing one's identity, their purpose and meaning, and a tight brother and sisterhood? So many at the time of transition, people, men and women, are in their 40s still. They're young. How about the shame that comes with post-traumatic stress? For insurance reasons, they put the D on there. They put the disorder, right? But really, it's an injury, post-traumatic stress injury. And so many times it can even be seen on a brain scan. And yet just the fact that people are human, because of a lack of education, there's shame. And that, again, people will suffer in silence. How about first responders? The pressure of ever-changing politics. I didn't know about that, but sometimes from shift to shift, it can change. How about the stress of hearing and seeing fellow Leos being ambushed and killed in a time when they don't feel like there is much community support? What about politics and social media, news, vitriol toward our protectors? What about the prolonged wait to get into the VA for care? We hear stories. A SEAL friend said he went into the VA and shared that he said, I am suicidal. But he had to wait for 6 months to get an appointment, right? This is not to even bash into the agencies or the VA. It's nothing like that. It's to be able to educate through storytelling. Storytelling educates the heart. And so these are the questions that we talk about, what can combat this? And so we have these narratives, and it's nothing new to this group. We've borrowed everybody else's narratives around us, but we like to highlight them. So how about the new mission? The new mission is life, right? Isolation is the enemy. To live means to not suffer in silence anymore. The new courage is to be willing to be vulnerable with life and struggles and put yourself out there to connect, to get comfortable being uncomfortable with connection, vulnerability, and reaching out. Being vulnerable can include sharing our stories, as our stories connect us. As when we share, we will find that many will say, yeah, me too. Thank you, David Perez, for that. And our stories elicit empathy and compassion and understanding. And I share a lot with the Power of Our Story tribe that there was one veteran in my class. He shared his story and it changed my whole trajectory. That's why I'm here today. It was that one story. I'm like, how come I don't know about this? How come we are not protecting our protectors? So sharing stories can be the antidote to isolation and hopelessness for ourselves and others. So for these reasons, we have organically built a tribe of caring protectors that get it. These protectors understand. So instead of explaining what we do, which I have, we want to show you what it looks like. So we're going to have some of our protectors share for a few minutes, and then we're going to have a conversation afterward for any questions. And for all our protectors sharing, when it gets to about 2.5 minutes, I'm going to go like this. Okay. Oh, you can't see it because my background. Okay. I'm going to go like this, and that'll mean, okay, 2.5 minutes. You can kind of wrap it up a little bit. So let's see. Our first person is Chris Gregorio. Chris, thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's been an honor and a blessing to be part of this group and to be able to speak tonight. As Sarah said, my name is Chris Gregorio. I'm a police officer in the Pacific Northwest. I'm also currently a reserve soldier in the reserves, but I'm about to wrap up my career in the October of this year. That'll wrap up about a 24-year career. I joined this group, as my understanding, right after the inception of it, after only a couple months in June of 2020. After a critical incident that I was involved in. And where was I at? I was alone. After things happen to us, or we've been victimized in some sort of way, or you're in some sort of critical incident, often you get put on this island and you're all alone on this island. But I found this tribe here with Sarah and the Power of Our Story. And that helped me navigate those waters. And it helped me realize that no matter what island that we're on, no matter where we're at, if we look at it, we're all on an island somewhere, and we're not really that far away from somebody else, and we're really not alone. If you pull back far enough, each continent is its own island, full of people that are suffering and going through some of the same things that we are. As Sarah had said, one of the strongest words that has been given to me was from David Perez, and that's me too. Realizing that you are not by yourself. Every single one of us struggles with something. You can ask me to play a radio station. I'm sorry. Technology, it's not my friend. So that helped me through my journey. And frankly, if I'm honest, I'm on that journey every single day. I'm happy and good to go 99% of the time, but I'm okay for the 1% that I'm not. And I have these fabulous people that I can reflect to and lean on, and they do the same on me. You could ask several people on here. Some of these people's lives that you're seeing here today, their lives have been saved because of this group, and you may hear their story. If their lives weren't saved, their lives definitively were changed. And because of this group, I've been able to come up with some things that help me through life and that I'm able to share with other people. And for me, part of my healing is having positive purpose and impact for other people. And that helps me through my journey. And one of them is a kintsugi bowl. A kintsugi bowl is a Japanese broken bowl that's put back together with some gold leaf. And if I look at that, we're all cracked in some sort of way, and we're stronger every time we get cracked and we're put back together. We don't value a perfect bowl from the store, but some of these consumables are worth $1 million. And then it's brought me back to a formula that I've created, and it's probably not all that original, but I call it the Gregorio relational formula. And this is for any relationship that you have, and it starts with yourself, but whether it be a family member, a spouse, your children, or your employer, it's you being vulnerable makes you authentic. Once you're authentic, then you can become credible to people. And once you have credibility with people, then you start earning and building trust. And Sarah had already touched on this. What does it take to start any of that stuff? It's courage. And being in this group and being around these selfless people gives you the courage to start that and start your healing process. Thank you so much for the time, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Chris. I loved that share. Okay. Daniel Torres.
Yes, hello, my name is Daniel Torres from sunny Phoenix, Arizona. I am a Army retired military police officer. I did 21 years, former federal Leo, and I currently work for the Arizona Department of Corrections. And my story began many, many years ago when I was 18 years old. My dad passed away from cancer about 3 weeks before I was supposed to join the Army. Well, not join, but go to basic training and advanced training. I never processed his death. I never grieved. It was the mid 80s, and I was ready to go off and be great in the Army. So I never grieved, get into training, and I'm being desensitized due to the training, because I was taught early on that to be a great MP, you can't let stuff get to you. You got to have thick skin. You can't show emotion. I was like, cool. I don't want to share any emotions anyway, so I'm pretty good at this already. So finish training, go to my first duty station. I got a badge and a gun, and I'm ready to save the world. And I'm responding to critical incidents as a young 18-year-old, and there was no CISM or support or debriefings. It was good job, get back out there. So I was reacting negatively to my personal trauma from my dad's death that I never dealt with, and then also reacting negatively to the critical incidents I was responding to. I was drinking, I was doing high-risk behaviors, I was angry, and just not really dealing properly. So I sought the advice and guidance and counsel of a chaplain in the Army, and basically he gave me a pamphlet and a book and said, read these, and if you still got any issues, come back and see me. So I threw them both away. I never went back. I never asked anybody else for support. And that set my trajectory for 30 plus years of a career of critical incidents, peacetime, humanitarian aid, disaster relief, combat operations, law and order operations, United Nations, peacekeeping operations. So I just kept compartmentalizing everything. And then, I joined the group. I was coming out of my downward spiral, which what started my downward spiral was none of that critical incident combat stuff. It was that my current agency, the first job I had, was grant funded. They decided not to get that position back and failed to tell me. So it was kind of a gut check, and I just couldn't really process that. So I was in a bad spot. I was in a downward spiral. But when I joined the group, I was coming out of that downward spiral, and just hearing the connection and the way people would share their stories with complete strangers, and just feeling the camaraderie and the brotherhood and sisterhood, it really helped me. The main thing I felt with joining the group was the connection with no judgment. I could share my story regardless of how good or bad it was, and not feel, any judgment. And that was so much more than what that chaplain did to me decades ago. So the power of our story is really the power of connection, because it was Miss Kim Yeater that I met at a conference that connected me with Sarah. And then it was Sarah, I got connected with Angels 14 and got connected with Carrie Stewart, which allowed me to go to the Warriors Ascent Academy of Healing. And since I've joined the group, I realized that I needed to seek mental health support. So I am currently seeing a therapist. I have been diagnosed with PTSD, and I think I'm on a good track. So if you feel the need for connection, I definitely say the power of our story, because the power of our story is the power of connection. And you're going to meet so many great people who get it and who can listen to your story without judgment. Thank you.
Awesome. So proud of you. Thanks, Daniel. How about Chaplain Todd Stewart?
Hello, my name is Todd Stewart. I'm in the Free State of Iowa. I was a firefighter in Washington State in the city of Federal Way. Third generation first responder. Joined the fire department at the age of 17 years old. And not a month after I joined the fire department, I experienced my first traumatic event, call out to a suicide, a 15-year-old boy who had asphyxiated himself in his shed. And I jumped off that fire engine and immediately encountered his mother. And that is a face and an expression that will never leave my mind. And from there, I went back to the fire station, and my attempts at discussing that with my lieutenant were met with the response, "Suck it up, rookie. The next call is coming, and we need to be ready for it. So just get it out of your mind and get ready for the next call." And that's what my life as a firefighter was like. I looked around me and saw other firefighters who, for all appearances, were dealing with it, and thought to myself, well, if they can do it, so can I. My career ended in the collapse of a staircase in a house fire in 1986. Thought for sure I was dead, but my brothers came out onto that collapsing staircase and pulled me out, saved my life. But the injuries that I sustained ended my career. And from there, for the next 30 years, I suffered in silence. And that included a suicide attempt in 2003 that was only thwarted by the thought of my daughters not being without their father, who is worthless and weak, but being without the money that he provided. And so I survived in that for decades until 2020, when the suicidal ideation returned with a vengeance. And I realized that my daughters were grown and they didn't need me anymore. But the simple buddy check from a friend who was a retired corrections officer saved my life. He didn't believe the bullshit answer that I gave him, and I was able to get the help I needed. And through the grace of my Lord and Savior and EMDR, I survived that. And shortly after that, I joined this group, July the 15th, 2021. I came on here. I was not very keen on opening up, but I found this tribe that epitomized what Jennifer said, elevated peer support. Somebody who's been through what I've been through, who've experienced what I've experienced, but wasn't necessarily part of that agency. And that was what I found. I found a family. I found a tribe. I found a group of people that would listen to me unload everything that I had in that bucket that was so damn full, and not judge, but support and love me. And I can tell you that it was through that I was inspired to join the chaplaincy and to turn around from a position of light and reach back into the darkness where my brothers and sisters are still suffering, and give them hope that they too can find the light that I found. And I just cannot tell you what an incredible blessing God has given me in this family. Thank you.
So proud of you. I'm so glad you're here, Chaplain Todd. Thank you. Great sharing. And then David Perez.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Sarah, thank you for having me and for giving me the opportunity to share with everybody. My name is David, and I'm from Hopewell, New Jersey. I'm a father, husband, friend, and a patriot. Almost 34 years now in emergency services, 20 plus of that being a police officer. I retired January 1st, 2020. Most of my career, I was a narcotics and community policing, 9/11 rescuer. And I don't have a specific incident that drove me to this, but both my service time and organizational trauma, cumulative trauma, and all kind of brought me to where I am. So with the benefit of hindsight, I started to realize that my crash and burn was about 18 and a half years into my law enforcement career. And no one noticed that I was self-destructing and self-imploding. And I accumulated a bunch of IAs, recognized that it was time to retire before I hurt myself or somebody else. And my retirement transition was about as smooth as sandpaper. And I really struggled with my identity, reacclimating to being at home again, having to be a part of my nuclear family as a husband and a dad. And it took a lot to repair relationships. And I was like a rudderless ship in a very turbulent ocean. And then on July 29th of 2020, one of my good friends, Danny, died by suicide. That really rocked my world. I was supposed to have lunch with him a couple of days after that, and he never made it. But it was the kick in the ass that I needed to retool and repurpose myself. So I was fortunately caught by the safety net of the resiliency program in New Jersey that was just budding at the time. And I was then trained as an MRT through the FBI's program, which is based on Dr. Seligman's program in his book, Flourish. And I was shortly after that directed towards Sarah by somebody in a joint network, and came to the platform for the first time. And I had the opportunity to tell my story. It was the first time I heard myself talk in that way. And it was the first time anybody cared to hear it, which was enlightening for me. And the first time I heard myself tell the story out loud, it was like an out-of-body experience. And I've been an instructor in law enforcement for most of my career, but this was the first time I actually heard my own voice. So it was an eye-opening experience. And then it was a relief and a release that I'd never felt before. And for the first time in my life, I felt heard talking to those in this group. I felt significant. I've had a lot of success in my life, but this gave me significance. So the process just allowed me to love again, not just those around me, but to also love myself. And I think that comes first before you can start loving anybody else. And fast forward to today, I teach resiliency in New Jersey for a New Jersey program. We have a transition assistance program that's based off the military model. And I consult for the New Jersey Office of Resiliency for Law Enforcement through the Attorney General's office. And I've been writing and just finishing up my first book, and also in the process of applying to the MAP program, the Master of Applied Psychology at UPenn. So that's my story. Sarah, thank you for everything. Thank you to all the guests that are here to understand what we're doing. I think we can really support your programs as well.
Thank you, David. What a powerful share. Thank you. And then Michelle Franklin.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle. My journey started a couple of years ago after being a 911 dispatcher for 12 years. I ended up working an incident that involved me being on the phone with a 12-year-old being held hostage after witnessing his other family members being shot. His life was taken while I was on the phone with him. When I found the power of our story, which happened to be almost a year after that experience, I was lost. I felt constantly drained of energy. I felt no joy, no happiness. The only feelings I had were anger, guilt, hopelessness, irritation, and the deepest sadness that I never could have imagined. I had given up on my battle with isolation. Just going to grocery shopping was too much for me. So I gave up and closed myself into my house as much as possible. I would even have my groceries delivered. I would go long periods without eating. My sleep was erratic and filled with nightmares. The headaches were constant. I felt consumed by the darkness. Then when I started attending the Power of Our Story, I was so fortunate to have attended on the night when my friend Aaron Terrell shared his story. It was like everything in my head, all the chaos was finally verbalized, and it wasn't coming from me, so someone else got it. This was the key I was missing in my healing journey. Through the genuine friendships of this group, I have found strength and hope again. I have been led to resources that I never would have learned about. 22-0, which helped me process through some of my traumas. 62 Romeo, which helped me get my sleep back on track. My dear friend Chris Chandler Yates, allowing me to be on his podcast and share my story in a constructive way so that I could start to help others. For the first time in a very long time, I have real, healthy friendships. Since joining the Power of the Story, I have been diagnosed with chronic PTSD. But with the support of all of my friends in this group, I found my strength and I was able to leave my career in dispatching in a healthy manner. My family and I have moved to a whole new state and found a perfect little town that has a healthier living mindset. I have been able to step into the role of helping Sarah run the social media for the Power of Our Story. I've enrolled back in school and am attending for my master's in military and emergency responder psychology through Sarah Metz's program with Colorado State University, another resource that I met through the Power of Our Story. And as of this week, officially, after 2 years of fighting workers' comp and being able to leave my career, I've accepted a brand new position that is not in law enforcement anymore. It's given me the new start that I need and building on the strengths that I already have. But most importantly, I am genuinely happy. My smile is no longer fake. It's the real thing. Thank you.
Oh man, you guys are going to make me cry. I'm so proud of you all. Oh, it's amazing to see the thriving that happens. Let's see. Is Janet Wazawadi on? Okay, she's across the world somewhere. How about Bobby Ledigar?
Hello, I even wrote down notes so I would stay on track. But what's amazing with this group before I start is that everybody is so different. Every one of us have a totally different story, but we're all linked in the same way. And it's awesome. And I'm just thankful to be here. My name is Bobby Ledigar. I'm originally from Queens, New York, and now I live in Sarasota, Florida. My story is sad, and the cases are extremely complex. It's all about collusion, retaliation, and lies. My agency went after me not to find the truth, because if they did went after the truth, then the people who made up the lies about me would have been arrested, and it wouldn't have been me being arrested. I was accused of crimes for over 5 years, under internal investigations for 5 years. And in the end, I was punished for policy violation by the opinion of a person who in fact violated one of the policies. I was fired 2 months before I could retire after 25 years as a supervisory deputy U.S. Marshal in Eastern New York, because I defended a subordinate who was an Army veteran, a gay female who worked for me and wanted to be part of the Regional Fugitive Task Force that I was one of the supervisors over. She was sexually harassed, assaulted, bullied, and discriminated against, degraded, anything you can think of that these guys did to her. I believed her. I knew it was true, and I supported her. And I went against the 5 or 6 guys that I had worked with and worked with her to support her. And by me doing that, they created a bunch of lies about me. And my own agency used those lies to destroy the truth and come after me. So I went, it just sucks. You go through so many emotions. It's just a roller coaster because, I'm a 7-year veteran of the Navy. I was in military police. I was a master at arms. I was an investigator, an instructor. I grew up, I had a good parents, good friends. And when you go through something like this and you're targeted, every day I was sad. I was scared, afraid, ashamed, disappointed. You feel stupid, like you did something wrong. And it all was, your feelings are hurt. And then it brought me to my story getting out there, and I connected with Sarah. And the first time ever is I came to this group and I spoke, and I met so many great people, and it helps. It helps a lot. It helped me a lot because of someone like David or Chris or Daniel, asking me direct questions, and wanting to know more and wanting to be there, and then connecting with me offline and giving me contacts and resources and helping me. And, it just works. And I'm very thankful. I'm thankful for everybody. And I'm just appreciate it all. And thank you, Sarah, because of you, you saved my life. And I can live a better day now. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Bobby. It's been amazing to see your journey. And I love seeing you smile. Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you. Sarah Marie.
I'm Sarah Marie. I've been a nurse for 16 years here in Colorado Springs. And I originally came to the Power of Our Story through Jake Edwards. That's kind of how I found out about it. And on LinkedIn, he's a Marine veteran. And, early on in my nursing career, I would sit with Vietnam veterans, World War II veterans. Later on, I was helping take care of first responders that responded to 9/11. I did cardiology nursing. So you can imagine like the havoc that Agent Orange and then 9/11 and all of that really played on our first responders. And so early on in my nursing career, I worked with a lot of those patients. And so when I first originally came to the Power of Our Story, I came originally with the intention of being a bridge builder. I'm also a survivor of domestic violence. And so I know a lot of our law enforcement, EMS and fire respond to those. And then it's also one of the most stressful and deadly calls for our law enforcement to respond to. And so as a survivor and then also a nurse, understanding kind of both of those sides, I really wanted to be here to support. Little did I know that I would be welcomed and seen as a first responder myself. Most of my career I spent in an abusive relationship. And so I never processed anything that I ever went through either in my childhood or as a nurse. And so it wasn't really until I came to the Power of Our Story about, I want to say like a year ago, really hearing everybody's stories and understanding that there was a lot that I went through in nursing that I didn't process, and that really weighted me down. I was too busy trying to survive something else, and at the time my career was my escape. I took a little bit of time off, came back to nursing a little bit before COVID hit, and I'm still in nursing now, and that's really why I continue to come every day because I keep running into things continually, those traumas in my nursing career. I work in pediatric home care right now. And so I've been in homes where the neighborhoods aren't great and there's gunfire, or there's domestic violence in the home, and I've had to leave homes. I just got asked last week to go work in a home that was infested with roaches. So I'm going into these areas because that's really like where, my heart is, like serving our community and serving pediatric patients. And then also working workplace violence here at the hospital. And I forgot to kind of give you guys an update, but December 28th, there was an active shooter scare at my hospital. I did think it was active because on fire and EMS, they were reporting like gunshot victims responding to a GSW in the lobby, which is right outside the unit where I work. And for the first time really in my career, I had a panic attack because I was already starting to have like survivor's guilt. Like I was out of town and I wasn't there, and being on the workplace violence committee, like I know that nobody's trained right now. That hospital is in shambles. And so there was really just a lot of anxiety, but everything turned out to be a huge misunderstanding. And can really show the chaos of what can really happen during those incidences when people aren't trained. So I'm thankful for a platform to share, to process that stuff. I'm thankful for all the experience, the years and years of experience that are in this group, because I'm still actively working in nursing and being in those situations. And so it's a comfort for me to have somewhere to come to share that stuff and process that, and be supported and seen as a first responder, because that's something new for nurses, to kind of have that recognition. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah Marie. So much was new in that share. Thank you so much. Aaron Terrell. And just in case anybody is not, I'm going to do a little, I hate doing this, but I'm going to do this just to let you know that about 2.5 minutes are going through by. Yeah. So Aaron.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey.
Hey. So first of all, thank you for having me. My name's Aaron Terrell, 18-year veteran as a police officer, 10 years on tactical team. He sustained a traumatic brain injury at work with a non-duty injury, did 10 months of brain rehab. I was off work for almost 2 years. While I was off, I because of my brain injury and what I was going through, I had lost everything. I had lost my purpose. I'd lost my will to live. I lost my reason to be here. I would sit at home every day with these incredibly strong antipsychotic meds that really put me in a bad spot. Before my accident, I wasn't OCD, I was CDO, because OCD wasn't in order, but I was needed. If I wasn't at work in lineup, they would want to know where I'm at. Am I all right? I was there to protect my crew. On the tactical team, if I didn't show up, there was an issue, it was an officer safety issue. But I quickly realized at home, going through these injuries that I sustained and what it was causing me to do, nobody gave a shit about me. I lost my career, I lost my family, I lost my house, I lost everything, and I couldn't control it. There were more than one time that I tried to commit suicide, but finally I told myself, if I'm feeling this way, others are as well. So instead of sitting at home and crying about it and feeling bad for myself, I decided to do something about it. So at this point, I started with a Wounded Blue, and I became a director of a program I created, the Partners with Paws program, where we offer therapy animals to other officers that are struggling. I was then, thank God, introduced to Sarah because I didn't have a reason. I didn't have a purpose anymore. Nobody gave a shit if I didn't wake up, because I wasn't needed anywhere. When I was introduced to Sarah in this group, it gave me a purpose again. It gave me a reason to be up on Thursday night. It gave me a purpose to be here on Friday. But most of all, what this group really does for me, it allows an 18-year veteran as a cop, it allows a 10-year veteran on SWAT to realize other people depend on me too. It's not what just this group offers me. I spent my whole life on people depend on me to bring something to the table. So Sarah's given me a purpose. She's given me an outlet, but just knowing that I do matter and other people can come to me and they rely on me, it's worth so much. So at this point, I use every platform that I can use to share my story. As a cop who lost everything, who used the medications they gave me that cost me my whole world, cost me everything. But I use every social media platform that I can to share my story because I don't glorify it, but other people are clearly going through it as well. So it's my job to let them know you're not a piece of garbage like I was. You're not alone and you can do it. So that's my new life mission. And this program, this group has given me that outlet to bring to the table and let them know, I've got their back. And then it helps me get out to other social media platforms to, to share my story, because it's a horrible feeling. I still to this day get up. And I hate it. But it's the little things like this group that are so huge and instrumental in my life. So thank you, Sarah, for this group here. Abby, you've given me so much and you give me a purpose every day. Thank you.
Well, we all love you, Aaron. And it's just always so good to see you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris Chandler Yates, are you on here?
He had to drop off.
Okay, you know what?
Yeah,
I
he had to
thought
bail.
it was the other Chris. Is there anybody else that's on our group that hasn't shared yet? That didn't get back to me on email?
Sarah, I'm here.
Hey.
Can I just, yeah.
Of course.
Of course. So I'm the emotional nurse. I've been a nurse 35 years. And, I came in and I started hearing everyone's stories again right now. And it just, it triggers everything because I've been there, done that. So to make a long story short, because I have 2 minutes, I think the biggest thing for me that I learned as a nurse is that, and the biggest struggle is that when I went in for help, because I knew I was struggling, and I'm extra emotional from hearing all the stories again, because I was there when they first came in, me and Sarah, from day one. And so I went in and I was told, whatever you do, don't tell anyone because your career is going to be over. And as a nurse, I couldn't understand. Here I was, the person that was helping everyone, that was working with everyone to help them get through what they needed to do to get them better. And when I went in for help as the caregiver, how could you tell me that I needed to keep my mouth shut? And my career was the biggest thing for me. That's what I knew. I was a nurse in and out. And so I realized I'm upset because all of this stuff that was just said re-triggered everything. So like I said, when we were here in the beginning, when a couple of these guys came in and it was just me and Sarah, and I was so worried I was going to say the wrong thing. And I knew they were going through so much. And I kept thinking, don't say the wrong thing. What do I say? How do I answer? I know I've been there, but how do I say the correct thing and not set them on a different path? Because I know when the wrong things were said to me, the tangent that it set me on a worse spiral to deal with what I was already dealing with. And later I learned through classes that I took as a nurse, because, it was really easy for me to slide from, I could be a nurse and I can handle it and I can box off all these emotions because that's what I've done my entire career. But when things hit me on a personal level, I didn't know how to deal with them. And so I learned about moral, I can't even think right now, about moral injury and what that was. And I learned from the guys about resilience and about being vulnerable. And while I was here helping them and talking with them, sharing with stories, I was listening to them and I was picking up on the keywords and words that I didn't know, that as a nurse, they just didn't come into my day because it wasn't things that I dealt with. And even though I always worked with law enforcement, because, you know, nurses, firemen, we're a special group. We always talk, here we are. Somehow we always end up together. I didn't know these things. And so I think the biggest thing is that, you know, I've learned through the years, like, we have to take care of each other. You know, when, like I said, again, my biggest thing when I was told, don't talk about it, you know, don't tell anyone your career is going to be over. How do I work like that? How do I work like that? And it wasn't until years later when one of those who were involved, who I was management, and someone else who was involved in management that had a hand in having me fired, went through his own struggle and took his own life on a bridge locally. And a law enforcement that I knew responded. And I sat back and I looked and I thought, well, wow, here's a person who everyone respected, who was involved, you know, in Washington, in politics and, you know, big stuff. And he took his own life. So why am I upset about things that I went through things and I was able to come out the other end? And I think that's, again, before I ramble, that's the biggest thing, that we need to watch out for each other. And I learned that as much as I had professional experience, it was my personal experiences and my life experiences that made me able to relate to all of the people in this group and share, because those personal experiences I've learned are so much more valuable than my professional experience in my resume. And that's what brings me back every week. These guys here that, you know, understand when I cry and I ramble, it's all part of it. We've all done it and we've all been there. And then I'll dry my eyes and soak it all up and get back to what I was doing. But it's, I see Sarah nodding her head. Sarah, I feel it. You know, every story these guys told, I was here when they came in, and I know I've done my part. I know the nurse part of me has helped because that's what I do, but I know that the personal, professional side of me has also been helped by listening to everyone else's stories.
Brenda, thank you so much. I'm so glad you decided to share. Thank you. That was powerful. Well,
you're welcome.
I just want to thank you all so much. You know, even though I'm with you like every week, hearing you share again just always touches my heart, all of you. And I think everybody else, you can see why I love these people so much and why everybody does. I do want to open it up for everybody to have a conversation or make comments. Again, use that little hand. And if you don't, just be like really wild so I can see you, because I don't want to miss you. And it looks like we got Chris Gregorio.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody that shared. There's just one last thing I needed to say before I get off of here, and that I wanted to say earlier, is that why does this group exist? Why do any of these cultures, these communities, these tribes exist? And the reality is because our culture sucks. And what we're doing is we're normalizing what's normal. We're taking away the taboo. We're making this normal. So the more people that see this, the more people can see that, hey, everybody suffers just like you, the more we can normalize this, and then maybe we get rid of that stigma, and then it's not courageous to talk and speak about your trauma, or that you're not perfect and that you have chinks in your armor, because we all do. That's all I had to say left. Thank you, everybody, for being here and sharing and being so vulnerable.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Chris. Gosh, I appreciate you. Paul, good to see you. And you're on mute.
Thank you. Good evening. I will share something very briefly, and that is, and this is as simple as I know how to make it, I love every single one of you. And I listen to your stories and I realize how blessed I have been in my life. I'm still alive. I'm old. And I'm happy as can be. And it's because I live my life in gratitude. But I will share one brief thing, and that is that the day I opened the front door to my house and I saw Michelle Franklin standing there with a smile on her face, and I looked around the door frame, and there was Sarah standing with a smile on her face. I will never forget that. I was so pleased and so grateful. And so I just share that for whatever it's worth. I love you guys, every single one of you. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. That was a great.
Love you, bro.
Yeah, that was a great day. Sarah Marie, I will be right with you. I just want to ask, is there anybody that is coming on for the first time? Again, I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but is there anything, any comments or questions? Just want to ask first and then I'll go to Sarah Marie. Okay. You know what, Kim?
You know, it's funny, they're in my head right now is, well, do I want to share what I'm going to share? Because I want to really honor and respect everybody in the space, because what you've created here is powerful. You know, there was a time when I was, when I had left my situation, you know, I almost died in my third pregnancy. And then I was at a domestic violence shelter. And I never thought that, first of all, I was like, I'm not like these women. But this is not where I need to be. Right? You guys were like, and I was like, oh my God, I'm just like these women. It's the same story, you know, we're all dealing with the same things. And so there was just, what you've created here is such a space for healing, because I know the healing that came from the space that I was in. And then, you know, Brenda, when I heard, you know, Brenda share, and Brenda hears these stories and it triggers something for her. And this is where I question, you know, whether to share this or not. And I know Sarah will give me great feedback. She totally will. And I just, you know, from the work that I do as a master practitioner, when we're triggered and those emotions come up, those are great warning signs for us, because it lets us know. It's like we're driving down the street and the engine light comes on, right? It's the warning sign to us that there's still something in there. And on a conscious level, if we knew it, most of us are like, we get the job done, right? We're servants. We get the job done. We take care of it if we were consciously aware of it. But it's not on the conscious level, it's on the unconscious level. And so I just want to encourage Brenda, you know, Brenda, reach out to me, give me a call, and I'll just do some complimentary stuff with you, some work with you that I think might serve you, so that you really can put the past in the past, and that's not triggered for you anymore. So I just want to throw that out there, because my heart, you know, just went out to you, and I felt that and I heard that. And I hope that was okay to share. Just, I'm really honored to be here. You guys were amazing. Thank you for being authentic and courageous tonight.
Absolutely, Kim. It was on your heart, and I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad that you,
Thank you, Sarah.
Came up. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to ask Carrie Stewart. I'm sorry, Sarah Marie. I'm not putting you off. I want to get some of these other people on who have not shared or spoken yet, and I'll get right back to you. Carrie. Hey.
Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity to share, and just thank you so much, each and every one of you, for the courage and the vulnerability that it took this evening. You know, I put a quote in there that we can't see our future connections, and it's amazing hearing each and every one of your stories, because I've met quite a few of you before in the past, but hearing the more detailed of your story, and I think it's so vital, because, you know, Daniel knows that if you come to a retreat with me, how I introduce myself is I'm Carrie Stewart, and I'm a Gulf War veteran, and in this space, you are loved unconditionally for who you are today, and you are accepted for who you are without any social comparisons. And it's amazing, because you're offering that same space virtually every single week and every single time you get onto this call, that people don't feel like they're judged and they don't feel like they're compared. So thank you so much for offering this space and staying committed to this, because we can't see our future connections. And there's people we're connecting with today that we have no idea the impact they're going to make in our community. So Daniel, thank you so much for trusting me, brother. I love you, man. And Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Carrie. It's always great having you on. Thank you. Okay. All right. How about Sarah Marie? Oh, Sarah, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry, I lowered my hand instead of unmuting. I had a quote that I actually wanted to share. But I also wanted to kind of say, like, we all think of Sarah as Mama Bear. And I think the idea kind of popped to me that Paul is Papa Bear. He's definitely looks after and has such a big heart for every single one of us. So what the quote that I really wanted to share that I recently came across is a quote by Maya Angelou. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. And I think that hits it right, bullseye there on kind of what the power of our story is. It's a place to share that story, which is that agony that we've all been carrying around, and to be able to share it in a safe and constructive environment. So I just really wanted to share that quote with the group.
Wow, that is powerful. I've never heard that before. Wow. Thank you, Sarah Marie. Michelle.
Hi. So first of all, I just really wanted to thank everyone who took the time to come on and hear our stories. It means a lot for us, and for most of us, it's another healing aspect. But I had to say that I decided that I was going to write down what I was going to say. And I was looking at my paper, and I did like front and back. But for the first time since my incident happened in November of 2020, since the first time I realized writing about it, the majority of my paper was all the positives and everything that has come out of being in this group. And I cannot thank Sarah enough. And whether it was support from her friends who have shown up tonight, from the foundations, from whatever Sarah was involved in that gave her a support system to start this platform right here, my thanks go out to all of her support system. And of course, my thanks go out to her. And I'm forever indebted for what she's given us here. Sorry. Sounds like Sarah's got some feedback. But I am so grateful. And I know that the power of the story was just meant to be. When my first night, Aaron came on and shared his story, which is still to this day the most impactful thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And probably because I felt like I could relate so much on so many levels. So thank you, Aaron. And God was at play that night when I came on for your story.
I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You are absolutely incredible. Very proud of you.
I feel the same about you.
That's really cool. Thank you, Michelle. And I would like to just say too, that really the power of our story, it's just an extension of my life, of my friendships. It really is. It's just, this is what I know how to do. And so just put on the power of our story. It really is just connection and friendships. So thank you for saying that, Michelle. So Chaplain Todd.
Yeah, a couple of things. One of the first things that you learn when you train to enter the chaplaincy is that it's known as a ministry of presence. And one of the things that you're taught immediately is that giving pastoral and spiritual support to people, regardless of their beliefs, their faith, that you are giving support to people that are in crisis. And I've told this group before that in a way, you're all chaplains for each other. And just to illustrate the sorts of personal impact that this group has had, that goes so far beyond the interactions that we have on Thursday night. After hearing Aaron's story, I decided to start talking to Aaron, and we started talking regularly. And just to, this is a very spiritual group. We're open to anybody of any faith or belief system, regardless. But there is such a definite spiritual component to this group. And one of the biggest blessings that I've ever received in my life was to be able to travel to little Owasso, Michigan, and on a very cold, very windy Saturday afternoon, baptize my brother Aaron and bring him into the family of God. And without the connections that we have made in this group, that blessing would never have come upon me. And Aaron, you are much more than just my brother as a fellow first responder. You're my brother in Christ. And you and I will have that connection forever. And that's the sort of profound thing that has happened as a result of being part of this family.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I love you and I love everybody here. I don't know what to say. Thank you. Thank you. I'm speechless. I had no reason. I was at a point where I'd go a week and a half, 2 weeks. I wouldn't shower. I wouldn't do anything because there was no need to. Who gave a shit? Lost my house, career, family. Everything was gone. And then once I got to be a part of this group, Todd and I became really close. And nobody has needed me since March 14th, 2000, or excuse me, March 10th, 2014, before 4:47 p.m. Nobody ever needed me. Todd was somebody that showed me that I wasn't a piece of shit. He literally drove this far for me. And it's something I'll never forget. And I owe it to the other Leos and first responders that, it's not about Aaron Terrell. It's not about me. It's not about making me feel good. It's a tool in the toolbox to help others that felt like a piece of trash like I did. So Todd, I love you, man. I've never had anybody do anything like that for me. And I'm just so thankful. And I will spend every day the rest of my life doing everything I can to make sure others don't feel like I do. And you're a huge part of this. So thank you.
Amen, brother.
Thank you.
That was an amazing thing to see. Yeah. Thank you so much, Todd, Aaron. Okay. I think we're going to need to be wrapping it up. So Lisa, last but not least.
You know what I'm going to say. Yeah, so many things to say. I don't even know where to start. So I'm going to get to what's most important to me. And that is Sarah, Dr. Pam, and
Oh, you just muted yourself.
Sorry. All of you have affected me in profound ways. Aaron, you're my hero. Dr. Pam, I love you. I enjoyed working with you. And Sarah, most of all, my angel. I met Sarah at Walk in Remembrance with Hope for survivors of suicide. I lost my sister to suicide in 2018. And I'm standing up by this stage and I was struggling really bad. And I even got suicidal over my sister in February. But anyway, don't want to drift. So standing there, and I guess Sarah could see I wasn't doing well at all. And it's a God thing, Sarah, you know that. She walked up to me and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not." So we got talking, and
she told me about Stella, the Stella Institute for the resetting the brain, PTSD. And that's kind of where I met Erin. She introduced me to Erin. Erin, I don't know if you've gone through that yet or not, but anyway, I couldn't end up doing it. And then Sarah offered me the gift of 22-0. And, you know, I can't stop smiling. I think I'm still healing from that. So what a gift. And I'm thankful for all of you here. All of your stories in one way or another touch me. I feel so much of the things that we all have in common here. And I've needed a home. I don't have really good family support. So this feels like home so much. I have the utmost respect for law enforcement. My best friend was a World War II veteran. And I had the privilege and honor of taking care of her for 5 years. So thank you to all of you. Thank you, Sarah. Forever. You'll mean everything to me because you really kind of saved me too. So thank you. Oh, and Chris Gregario, I don't know if you're still on here. I wanted to acknowledge you. I first saw you when you were interviewing Erin. Is Chris still here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I saw that story. That was the first time. I think Erin told me about it, maybe.
Yes.
And he also told me about the power of our story too. But so Chris, I just wanted to acknowledge you. Thank you for doing this, introducing me to, well, Sarah introduced me to Erin, but I loved, you know, the conversation that the two of you had. And that's kind of what got me started delving into this more. So just thank you to everyone. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you so much for sharing, Lisa. And for everybody who has come on, this is what the power of community is. It's people helping each other. It's healing in a place of safety. It's as simple as that. None of us are clinicians except for maybe, well, Dr. Pam, I know Monica is, but really, you know, I'm not, you know, the people on this group are not. So I cannot tell you how much it means to us that you came and you listened and you heard the stories. So